Action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for February 11th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday. I know what the chat wants me to call this, but I am not going to call what they want me to call it. If you joined us a couple Wednesdays ago, you know what word I said on the air. That was a swear word and I didn't mean to. So we're not going to call it that today because I do not want to get fired. We have a lot to talk about tonight, as we always do. There was some news that came down during the show about Nick Castellanos. He is a Phillies player, but not for long. And I'll explain in a little bit. And then we'll talk about whether or not Nick Castellanos fits on the Phillies or on the Padres or not. We'll also talk about something. Now, this is at the end of the show, but I talked about the Ring thing last night, where Ring Camera was doing the whole thing where you have a search party where you can type in a description of your dog and then it hooks into all the other Ring cameras in the neighborhood and it looks for the dog and everybody thinks it's like a dystopian state where they're all watching us all the time. So yeah, I did that last night, had fun talking about it, but I saw something today about how sports media, specifically the Athletic, how they handle the new age of AI taking articles and populating, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, all those AI different things. And so they're doing something different. They think they found a way to not have AI get information off their website without, someone visiting the website or paying. So we'll talk about that because that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. You put all this work, you pay the writer, put all this work into it. You want people to come to your website and you want people to read the article on your website, which I always do. And then some AI program can scrape it and find out what your article said. And so then they can put it into some offering for someone in ChatGPT, and that person, it may say the Athletic reports, but that person will never have to click on the Athletic website. It sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but it's a massive deal because website traffic is how these websites are making money. They need the traffic and they're seeing a dip in traffic because of AI. And again, I'm not so sure about AI. There are certain things I really do like about AI. There are certain things I think will be, I think that are beneficial to society, but there are certain things I don't think that are beneficial for society when it comes to AI. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And I saw this, here's how I do my Skraby Show process. In the morning, wake up, start checking news, and I, put some articles, put some stories, put some topics into the documents, whether or not it's the Gwynn and Chris show or it's going to be the Skraby Show. And I put this in here this morning when I was, cared about it a little bit more. So I don't know if we're going to get to it, but a lot of people are now seeing that Tom Brady might be, involved in a little bit of a conflict of interest because he also owns a team. And so the coach, Clint Kubiak, said he's going to call Tom Brady a lot for information. So I don't know. We may get into that. We may not. But let's start with Nick Castellanos because that's kind of the small news of the day, I guess. It's been somewhat slow. I guess Chris Bassett just signed with the Orioles for 1 year, $18.5 million, way outside of the price range for the Padres, most likely. And Chris Bassett, he pitched well last year, and he could be a solid 4 or 5 starter, but I don't know. I'm paying $18.5 million for Chris Bassett at the age of 36. Seems like a lot of money. The Orioles have put out, they've signed some players this offseason, so they have spent the money. And I just don't know $18.5 million is really the right thing for the Padres to do. So I'm kind of glad they did not do it. But Nick Castellanos of the Phillies, he was told, apparently, according to reports, not to report to spring training amid likely trade or release. So if they can't find a trade partner, they are going to just straight up release him in the next 2 days or so. I mean, this went as far as, I guess they already like took down his locker, and there's pictures on the walls around the facility, and they took down his picture off of the wall in the facility. So this tells me that whatever happened last year between Nick Castellanos and Rob Thompson, the manager of the Phillies, whatever happened between them last year was so bad that they aren't even dealing with it this year. So I think we all have to keep that. I think we all have to keep that in mind when we're thinking about Nick Castellanos, because if Nick Castellanos, I can't say that he's a villain. I can't say that he is a baseball player that people hate, but it seems like he doesn't really hide his emotions at all. So he says what's on his mind, and that might not be the best thing. Nick Castellanos, last year, he did play in 147 games. Here's what I'll say about Nick Castellanos over the last 5 or 6 seasons. He plays a lot of games, and that's a big deal. He played 2021, 138 games, 2022, 136 games, 2023, 157 games, 2024, all 162, and 2025, 147 games. So he is a workhorse, and that goes all the way back to the beginning of his career when he was playing with the Tigers. He was easily over 100 games basically every year. And so that's a huge bonus. That is someone that you want on your team, because you can just plug it in and just forget about it, and you don't have to deal with a daily thought of who is going to play left field, who's going to play right field. But last year he hit 250, and here's where things went sideways for him. He did not have the power that he has had in his past, and he hit 17 home runs, drove in 72 RBIs. He still had 547 at bats, so it's not like he had a small amount of at bats. And if you pay attention to what his stats have been doing the last few years, they're slowly heading down. And so in 2023, he hit 272, 29 homers with the Phillies, 788 OPS, and then 2024, 254 average, 742 OPS, 23 home runs, 86 RBIs. And his stolen bases have gone down as well. My first thought is, do not bring him in. First, I think that he's going to command a decent amount of money. He's made good money in his career. He's always made good money. So I can't think that he's going to accept anything that maybe the Padres are going to offer. But Nick Castellanos has never been short on money. He signed a he signed a 5-year deal, $100 million with the Phillies. So he's making $28 million a year. He's on the Phillies roster this year, and then he's a free agent next year. So whoever has to trade for him has to take that $20 million salary. They also have to know that he's just a rental for the end of the year. I'm not a fan of bringing him in. I don't know that we want to bring someone in who is coming off of something so bad that his team just straight up is willing to release him and take the penalty because they just don't want him on the team. I'm not endorsing this. If they do bring in Nick Castellanos, I don't think he plays good enough defense. I don't know that he is on the upswing of his career. He's clearly getting older because that's how age works, but he is 33. He'll be 34 this coming season. I just don't see it there. I just don't. If he hit last year, I don't know, 265 with a 780 or 790 OPS instead of the 17 home runs, maybe 25 instead of the 72 RBIs, maybe 100 or maybe 90, I could see where you would want to bring him in. But with what's going on with him in the Phillies and the fact that he's played 13 years of baseball and he's not getting any younger, I'm going to have to pass on this. I'm going to have to pass on Nick Castellanos. I know it was asked in the chat, $20 million if they trade for him. First off, the Padres don't have the trade chips to trade for him. So if he did come to the Padres, it would be through some sort of, claim or something like that because he's on the Phillies roster. So they would have to get past that. Maybe if the Phillies are offering to pay like $15 million of his salary, maybe. I think that would be great. But I don't think the Phillies are going to do that either. So Nick Castellanos, I really want to know. I really, really want to know what happened and what he said to his manager that caused such a hullabaloo that he's off the team completely. They have just taken down his locker and taken down his picture. So we'll see what happens with Nick Castellanos going forward. I do not think he will be in a Padres uniform. All right. You can watch the show if you want. If you go to YouTube, just search at The Skraby Show. Also, search 97.3 The Fan on YouTube. Facebook, 97.3 The Fan X, 97.3 The Fan SD, and my X, at Matt Skraby. Let's see. Someone made a comment earlier, and I'm reading it right now. It says, 10 starting pitchers in 3 days. I'm thinking 3 days signed. 10 starting pitchers signed in the last 3 days. 6 of them went to last place teams, and none of them are top rotation guys. And the bleeping Padres didn't even get one. What WTF are we doing? Let's talk about that when we get back. I want to talk about this because just because pitchers are coming off of the board and going to certain teams doesn't mean that the Padres have to sign them. We're going to talk about this when we get back here on the Skraby Show. 97.3 The Fan.
Hot Tub. Hot Tub. Hot Tub. Major manufacturers and warehouses clearance of new 2026 inventory. Friday through Sunday. Mission Valley Mall. Over 100 hot tubs on display and everything must go. New 2020.
Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. 97.3 The Fan, Matt Skraby, The Skraby Show. Thank you for joining me. You can follow me or subscribe to the YouTube at The Skraby Show if you would like. That would be very nice as well. My last name, Skraby as in boy, Y. One of the most common questions I get is, how did you make up your name? How did you get your radio name? I didn't make up my name. My name is Skraby. My last name is Skraby. It's kind of, I guess back in the day, they made it up a little bit because my grandparents, here's a history lesson about the Skraby family that no one really cares about, but you're going to get it. Skraby is my great grandparents came from Lithuania back in like the 20s. And when they got here, they wanted to make their name sound more American. And so they changed it to Skraby. It used to be another name that I'm not going to say because I think there are other people living with that name, but they made it up basically. They wanted to make it sound more American, so they added Skraby. Gonzo says, I thought it was Mar. Yeah, it was Mar. It was Mar for that one Sports Illustrated article. I knew I made it. I knew I made it when I saw that AI picked up my name as Mar Skraby. That was great. Anyway, yes. So my name is a weird one, and it's my name. That's what's happening here. Another thing that I need to keep everybody up to date on. We always talk about how how cold it is in this studio on a daily basis because it does get very cold. But today it's been hot in here. So I don't know what's going on with the heat. I don't know what's going on with the air. It has been warm in here. And so it's a little strange because I'm not so used to it being so warm in here. Like back when we first started, we had major issues with how hot it was in here. But now we have major issues with how cold it is in here. I'd rather take the cold. I've said this a million times. I'd rather be cold than hot. So we're going to have to figure out the studio as well as we go forward here in spring training. Now, I want to go back to that comment that was made earlier in the show. It was, man, I had it and then it just scrolled all the way right past me. Basically, the comment was, there have been 10 pitchers signed in the last 3 days, and the Padres, and they went to last place teams, and the Padres didn't sign any of them. What's wrong with them? First, I don't think anything is wrong with them. I think that they're doing the thing that AJ Preller does, is he waits and he stalks, and then when he needs to, he strikes. And that's what he did kind of last year. He did it with Nick Pivetta. We were all waiting. Who's going to be the fifth starter or fourth starter? Who's going to be the fifth starter? And then all of a sudden, Nick Pivetta was on the team. So I think we have to wait a little bit into spring training before we start getting mad at the roster. But here are some of the starting pitchers or pitchers in general that have signed here in the last couple of days as a free agent. We just talked about it. Chris Bassett signed a 1-year, $18.5 million deal with Baltimore today. So I think Chris Bassett, if he would have joined the team for like 10 or 12 million, maybe, but 18.5 million, way too much. And I don't regret the fact that the Padres did not get Chris Bassett after I saw the price. And then you got Miles Michaelis, who signed with the Nationals. It doesn't really give me his salary, but Miles Michaelis he's going to be 38 at some point this year. So they don't even have what he's getting paid. I don't think Miles Michaelis was really an option for me. Now, here's one that is interesting because Jordan Montgomery signed with the Texas Rangers today for $1.25 million. Now, if we're going to talk about guys you may give a chance to and see what they can do, Jordan Montgomery had a terrible time in Arizona. He went from the Rangers winning World Series, being a good pitcher, and then he went to being pretty bad with the Diamondbacks to the point where the owner was like, I don't even know why I signed him. I don't know why this. I don't know. The owner was not a big fan of Jordan Montgomery. He was getting paid, I think, $25 million for the year. But he signed a deal with the Rangers for $1.25 million. Now, if we're going to be critical of the free agent roster or the roster building this offseason, let's be critical about this one, because even if Jordan Montgomery doesn't make the Rangers team, $1.25 million is not a lot of money in the baseball world. You are getting a steal on that one. Maybe not a steal, but you are getting a pretty marked down player right there. And I would give Jordan Montgomery a chance at that salary. I would not give him a chance if it was a little bit, or if it was like maybe $7, $8, $9 million, because I don't know what he's going to give me. But Jordan Montgomery, there's one that I think I would have liked to see maybe kick the tires on. Now you have Jose Quintana, who signed with the Rockies yesterday for $6 million. Jose Quintana was also an option for a fifth starter as well, but I don't know that we want to bring in a 37-year-old pitcher. Justin Verlander signed with the Tigers, 1 year, $13 million yesterday. Now, this is one we talked about. I think $13 million is fair for Justin Verlander. But he wasn't terrible last year at all. His team didn't give him run support, but I'm not sure when the wheels are going to fall off for Justin Verlander. He'll be 40. Let's see. Wow. He's going to be 43 in 9 days, February 20th. So do you want to bring in a 43-year-old starting pitcher for $13 million? Possibly. But in this case, I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it to bring in Justin Verlander. I don't think that he's going to change the fortune of your team. But I have to think that the wheels are going to fall off at some point. And Tony always says it. Father Time is undefeated. So there's going to be a year where it just falls off. And I don't want the Padres to be the team that has to foot that bill. So Justin Verlander signed with the Tigers. Tomoyuki Sugano signed a $5 million deal with the Rockies. Here's another one I think is something that the Padres could have kicked tires on. Nick Martinez, 1 year, $13 million. He signed with the Rays a couple days ago. He's familiar. The team knows him. He's a good clubhouse guy, but he signed with the Rays for $13 million. I think that was just a little bit too much for the Padres. Chris Paddock, he signed a 1 year, $4 million deal. Do we want the sheriff back? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think people want the sheriff back. Then you got guys like Framber Valdez, 3 years, $115 million with the Tigers. And you got Jose Urquidy, signed a $1.5 million deal with the Pirates. So if the Padres weren't going to go after the big names out there in free agency, then I think that they're just going to target the guy that they want. Like we talked about yesterday. I think that the Padres like to hyper focus their targets on players. They have players in mind. They know what they want to pay them, and then they go out and try to get them. And so if we get to maybe 3 weeks into spring training or something like that, and they don't have a legit fifth starter, then we could start worrying a little bit. Then we could start talking about options, but I'm going to give them a little bit of time. None of those pitchers that I just mentioned that have signed in the last couple days are pitchers that I am heartbroken that they are not with the team. So I don't think the Padres missed out on anything here. Maybe they're going to miss out on one of them having like some incredible year. Like maybe Jordan Montgomery gets back to his normal self and he ends up signing a bigger deal because he showed that he could be back to a starting pitcher. But none of these pitchers that I mentioned are guys that I am sad about not being on the team. There's someone out there that they are thinking about. There is a pitcher out there, or the pitcher is already on the Padres roster. We just don't know it. Maybe Marco Gonzalez fills that fifth spot. JP Sears fills that fifth spot. And I think when I talk about this, people, some fans glaze over because it's like, what? We already know what we're getting from those guys. We do, but also you have to realize that they are on the roster for a reason. Someone on the chat said the window is closing and getting a pitcher with Bassett off the table. See, that's okay. I think that's okay. Bassett off the table. He got paid 18.5. I think that's an overpay. But I think the window on starting pitchers is fine. There's not one that will, if the Padres sign a guy, any of those guys I just mentioned, we're not going to be like, hey, they're going to the World Series now because of this guy. So I don't think the Padres, missed out on anything here. But it's a good question because I do get reminded all the time that I do get reminded all the time that people are new to being a fan of baseball. And I was once new to being a fan of baseball too. And I once was freaking out around now about the Padres roster. And then I just realized I shouldn't freak out with AJ Preller at the helm because he's going to figure it out. I've said this before. They do need to make a push for the World Series this year. And they're going to have to strengthen this roster in certain ways to make that happen. But I think right now, as the team is constructed, I think they're a playoff team with some additions. I just said with currently constructed, so I just, I disregarded myself. But as it's currently constructed, I think this team can win. And with a few more additions, I think this team can win plus. So I'm not worried yet. I am not worried yet. Joseph says, so if no Gallen either, then who? You know what? I honestly don't know because there's no one out there that I can identify as someone that would change the entire fortunes of the Padres. I've looked through all of the different free agents. It's a lot of bubble guys you don't know are going to be good enough to stay on your major league roster throughout the year. But again, Nick Pivetta came in very late last year. And so that's why I'm not really too worried about it. Eric said, this year we need to get off to a fast start like last year. Agree. But then you can't criticize the team for starting 14-3 or whatever it was and say, well, they wouldn't be in the playoffs if they didn't start 14-3. Well, they did start 14-3. All right. That's enough ranting about that. Oh, also Kyle Hart. Anybody interested in Kyle Hart? As I said earlier, I think Kyle Hart's more of a reliever than any sort of starter for the Padres. All right, I want you to hear what Craig Stammen said about a new Padre, Sun Moon Song, because a lot of people are predicting that he's going to not make or break, but he's going to be incredibly important for the Padres' success this year. So we'll hear from Craig Stammen. We'll talk about it next.
The biggest guests in San
Final segment of the Skraby Show here on 97.3 The Fan. I'm always watching the Olympics, but I love the biathlon, mainly because I could never do it. Like, it would be so hard to do the biathlon, and I am not a distance runner or anything like that, but I don't think people understand how hard it is to shoot a target after you've just had to, like, cross-country ski your way up a hill. That is not easy, but it's always fun to watch the biathlon. I have no idea why I love the Olympics so much. It is a very strange thing. It is a very, very strange thing. Whew. I had a really good point made on the chat during the break, and it's from Marco. Are we forgetting that we have a stacked bullpen? Maybe one of the guys like Adrian Morejon or others can get more junk under their belt and become starters. Possibly. I don't know that they're going to do it with Adrian Morejon, but we've talked about David Morgan, Mason Miller. Here's some news. I can't believe I forgot this. Craig Stammen said that Mason Miller will be the team's closer today, for the rest of the year. So that's good. We're not going to deal with the whole "is Mason Miller going to start" thing. DJ Royal says a fifth starter, no matter who it is, will not make a difference. Padres need bats. Jake needs to wake up. We wear out our pitchers by making them hold on to a one-run game. Can't disagree with that. I do think I think that's a pretty astute point. A fifth starter, no matter who it is, will not make a difference unless it's like a future Hall of Famer. It's not going to make a difference. But the Padres do need some depth on the position side of everything. They don't really have enough depth. I mean, they still have Gavin Sheets, who's playing first base. He's the everyday first baseman right now. Outfield set. Left side of the infield set. Right side of the infield outside of first base is set. But they need depth pieces. They need bench pieces. Gonzo says Preller making one more move. I think Preller is going to make more than one more move. Diesel says, give Gallen 3 years, $54 million. I'm with you. And I said this the other day. If indeed the Padres were in on Framber Valdez, then maybe they will spend that money. Maybe they will give Zach Gallen 3 years, $54 million. He always seems to pitch very well against the Padres. So I would have no qualms with Zach Gallen being a Padre. I would love to see him strike out 200 guys a year. Big A says, give me Matty Waldron, fifth starter. You know, I've thought about this too. Matt Waldron 2 years ago was almost the savior of the season because while the starting rotation for the Padres was very injured, Matt Waldron came in and kind of held it together. And I'm not sure why Matt Waldron has just kind of disappeared from the rotation at all. Like the discussion of rotation. His name is not brought up anymore. We did ask, who did I ask? Oh, Sam Dykstra from MILB.com. I asked Sam Dykstra a couple months ago about Matt Waldron and whether he could be the fifth starter. And he made a good point. Matt Waldron's other pitches outside of his knuckleball aren't great. They're good, but they're not great. And his knuckleball, you can't predict a knuckleball. So some days the knuckleball is going to be great, and some days the knuckleball is going to be not great. And so I think that's why they're keeping him away from the rotation. I like Matt Waldron. I think he's a good guy, but he needs to get his secondary pitches. He needs to make them a little bit better before they bring him back to the fifth spot in the rotation. But I like to see that knuckleball. I think, was it Jazz Chisholm that said that was the hardest pitch he's ever tried to hit because it was so crazy and knuckling, as they say. All right. Craig Stammen spoke with the media today. Sammy Lev was out there, Peoria, getting it done. And Craig Stammen was asked about the newest Padre, or one of the newest Padres, Sung Moon Song.
Sung Mun has showed up in actually pretty good health, probably better than we expected. Obviously when you have a little oblique injury, those can go sideways if you try to come back too soon. But I think the medical staff did a really good job trying to communicate with his people back in Korea and taking it easy until he got to the States. And I think him having a baby in that time period also slowed him down a little bit too, which was good. But he's been out here on the field for a couple of days, done some work. He looks really good. All kind of excited about, what he looks like fielding ground balls, the swings he's been taking in the cage. So, excited about him.
I'm going to get his name right. It's not Sung Moon Song. It's Sung Mung. That's what he said. So I'm going to commit it to memory. Sun Mung. All right. The oblique. It's kind of funny. We're talking obliques because I always give people a hard time for oblique injuries. But I golfed with a friend over the weekend who hurt their oblique like the day before we went golfing, and they were in so much pain. So I've done the oblique thing. I know it's much worse than people think it is because it's just like your side, but it is extremely painful. So I'm happy to hear that it's doing better than they expected. This guy though, Sung Mung, he's a wild card in this whole season. We have no idea what he's going to bring. I think they think he's going to be a contributor this year. I would think the way that they're talking about him, I don't think he does a minor league stint. I don't think Ha-Seong Kim did a minor league stint. I think they want to keep him at the major league level so they can, help him adjust to Major League Baseball, help him adjust to a different country in America. So I think they want him at the major league level. But if he can produce, I'm not even asking him to come in and be a superstar, but if he is a consistent producer to this team, that will take care of a lot of the depth problems. I think if you are able to get something out of him and you are able to maybe play him in some positions that you're going to need him to play in, if you're going to be able to put him in different spots in the field, I don't think DH, but if he's able to play other positions in the field and he's able to hit, then I'm not talking about a guy hitting 35 home runs, 40 home runs. I'm talking about a guy who's hitting 15 to 20 home runs. I think even 20 home runs might be too much. But if he's able to hit 15 home runs and maybe like 70 RBIs, that's a solid season. That is a really solid season. Joseph just asked me something I don't know the answer to. I'm really bad at knowing if they're lefty or righty. He bats left. So he throws right, bats left. He, according to Baseball Reference, baseman, second baseman, and first baseman. So there you go. If he can contribute, he's a depth piece right there. Don't think he's an everyday player for this year at least, but I do think he is a depth piece. He's going to a lot is going to hinge on him. And I don't think that they have much time to have him develop into something. They need it to happen now. All right, that's it for Padres talk. All guests on 97.3 The Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys, helping good people regain control of their future in charge of the crimes 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. One of the things I love about doing this show is that I have a plan, but all of you out there kind of direct the show because I need my people with me during the Skraby show, and I'm able to get through the show because of the different topics that are brought up. So thank you very much for everybody who's in the chat, anybody who tweets me. You can, again, go to my YouTube at The Skraby Show if you would like to chat. But we talked about this, and I'm going to get to this athletic story in just a second. But yesterday we talked about the Norwegian Olympian who did an interview after he won the biathlon. And he won, I think, the bronze medal in the biathlon. Well, he went and did this whole thing after the race about how he wants her back and he cheated on her and he made the biggest mistake of his life and, just putting his heart out there in front of the entire world. Well, we said, Gwen, Chris, Tony, Chris, and I said yesterday, we don't think this his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend is really going to like this. And she did not like this. I think this was the wrong move. And believe me, I am a guy who's made many wrong moves in relationships before. But going on Norwegian national television and telling everybody that you cheated on her and it was the worst thing you ever did was completely the wrong idea, because she did an interview with a Norwegian tabloid, VG, on Wednesday. And she said, it's hard to forgive, even after a declaration of love in front of the whole world. He said, here's what he said yesterday. 6 months ago, I met the love of my life, the world's most beautiful, sweetest person. And 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life and cheated on her. I always find those statements funny. I met the love of my life, the world's most beautiful, sweetest person. And then 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake and cheated on her. I don't understand the logic between I met the love of my life and then you cheat on her. I don't understand that logic. But here is more of what she said to the magazine. She is still upset about this whole thing. She said, quote, I did not choose to be put in this position, and it hurts to have to be in it. We have had contact, and he is aware of my opinions on this. She's kept herself secret, which is nice that they're kind of, making sure that her anonymity is intact, because I don't think she deserves to be on blast in front of the entire world. But here's what the Norwegian biathlete Sturla Holm said. I deeply regret that I brought up this personal story on what was a joyous day for Norwegian biathlon. I am not quite myself today, and I am not thinking clearly. I don't know. It's clear that you weren't thinking clearly. I think the whole thing is just strange. I do know one thing about relationships, and that's if you're airing dirty laundry, even if it's your dirty laundry, the other person is going to be upset about that. Is going to be upset. So just don't do it. Don't go on TV and profess your love. I'm trying to think, have I ever gone on TV? No, I've never gone on TV and professed my love before, but I have done some stupid things, and that is a story for another day. All right, real quick, before we get into the Daily Grape, The Athletic is talking about how they are trying to combat AI scraping their articles and providing the information into like ChatGPT or wherever the AI is being used. And so The Athletic did something really smart, because text, and even behind a paywall, you are able to somehow scrape the articles. And The Athletic is behind a paywall. But they are now trying to do more of live blogs and videos and podcasts, because it's really hard. It takes a lot of computing power in order for an AI to scrape a video. So that's what they're trying to do. And I think this is really smart. You are trying to get by this AI thing. And if you have the live blog push, or you have a live podcast video that's going on, the AI can't scrape it. Well, it can, but it's going to take a little bit longer. And I don't think that they're going to go after that because they don't want to. But I really like this, because then it keeps talk. It keeps the spoken word format going. I don't know. Everybody always asks me, what are you going to do when AI takes over your job? I really don't think that's anytime soon. I know the AI is taking over other radio station jobs, like some music hosts, which I know is backfiring everywhere. I've heard some of these AI jocks, and they're awful. So I don't think that would work. But I don't think my job is going to be replaced by AI anytime soon, because I don't think there's any AI that can think like I do.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Here is the gripe of the day. Has to do with the rain this morning, but it took me over an hour to get from my house to work today, which I live in like the Carlsbad Encinitas area, and it took me forever. And the daily gripe is, why, when it sprinkles outside, does everyone lose their mind? It should not take me over an hour and 10 minutes to get to work. And someone ended up like spinning their car because they were going too fast, I read, and it just backed everyone up. I cannot handle people who do not know how to drive in rain. Like, it's not that hard. Maybe if it was heavy rain, hurricane force rains, but this was a small drizzle. Come on. Someone said bald tires and no headlights. That's probably true. Another daily gripe. I guess I'll do a double daily gripe tonight. People who ask questions you can simply look up. This happens to me a lot. And I think it's kind of good. It's flattering that people think I'm so smart. But it's like, who asked me? It's at my other job. Someone asked me something that you could easily just Google. And I really wanted to say, well, you can Google it. I always try to go to Google first because I don't want to bother people. But just don't ask questions you can easily look up the answer to. Just go that little extra bit and do it for yourself. There's my soapbox. There's my daily gripe. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Chris, Tony, myself, start at 2 p.m. on 97.3 The Fan. Have a good night, everybody.